Welcome to Trish and Chris, the podcast. We are so excited to have you guys here with us each and every Thursday. I'm Trish,
And I'm Chris.
and today is Tuesday. That's the day we're recording, and it's a very special day. It's Veterans Day. I want to start off by saying thank you to all those I know and all those I don't know who have served. Thank you so much for your service.
Yes, and I would also like to thank everyone in my family, as well as the veterans all over the world who have served, as well as those who served alongside of me when I spent my time in the military.
Which is a very much a fun fact. Tell us a little bit more about your experience. And from me to you, thank you so much for your service as well, Chris.
Well, I will just say that the military is not for everyone. I experienced a lot of things, and it was an opportunity for me to mature. I joined straight out of high school right after 9/11 happened, and I did get to see some interesting things. I learned a lot, and I am grateful for my time that I spent in the military.
You kind of touch a little bit on interesting things because I know today's episode is going to be a special one. We're going to talk a little bit more about cases. And I can't wait to hear what you're going to tell us because I know from my perspective, as you know, I love true crime. I'm always looking at different cases, different stories. I'm a very big victim advocate, but I don't often hear too much about victims when it comes to uh, military, but there definitely are a lot of victims there. Because when I do hear the stories, they're pretty gruesome to say the least. And I just can't wait to hear more about the cases that you're going to tell us about today. But why do you think that is?
I think because the military is, although it is a large organization, it's almost like a secret club. And you hear in certain instances about the coined phrase "don't ask, don't tell," and that does not cover just one aspect of the military. It is a blanket statement where I feel like there's so many cover-ups in the military, things that get buried and truths that never come out. And that's why we're going to cover the case of PFC LaVena Johnson. Her story is one that I actually learned about when I was in the military still. And it has haunted me for all these years. In fact, this year made 20 years since she joined the military, and unfortunately, her life was taken from her. From what I believe, the military did really a suicide. But once you hear the details of this case, I'll let you decide and let me know what you think about it.
But without further ado, let's get into it because I haven't heard this story yet, and I'm really, really interested.
LaVena Johnson was born on July 27th of 1985 to a family of five. Her mother, Linda Johnson, and her father, John Johnson, who was also a veteran, had a loving family. They loved their children, and they grew up in a pretty loving home by most accounts. LaVena graduated from Hazelwood High School, and just a short while after graduation, she enlisted in the military on September 15th of 2004. Now, her parents had their own reservations, but LaVena wanted to figure it out on her own. She figured it would be a good way for her to pay for college and get some life experience. However, nobody could have guessed that LaVena would return home just 8 months after she joined the military in a casket. Not long after she joined, her unit was deployed to Balad, Iraq, where she served. And most of the soldiers who gave their accounts of LaVena and testimony about her, they said that she was a happy-go-lucky, sometimes sassy young woman. And everything about her, from what her parents say and everyone says, she loved life. She loved all life. She was excited about her future. And there was no reason that anyone could have guessed or predicted what was going to happen. On July 17th, LaVena's family says that her mom spoke to her. She called home, said she was so excited because she was going to be getting a new job. She was going to be sent back home. Their unit was going to be pulling out and they would be back home. And she was happy and upbeat. She talked with her parents about Christmas tradition. She was so excited and said, "You guys make sure you do not set up the Christmas tree and decorate for Christmas without me. I can't wait to come home." She was so excited. Her family says she was full of life. However, 2 days later, LaVena would be discovered in an unbelievable situation. And I want to go ahead and say that I want to go ahead and issue a trigger warning. Viewer discretion at this point is advised because the details are about to get graphic. Now, on the 19th, LaVena was found in a contractor's tent. Still to this day, nobody knows or understands why she was there. But LaVena was found in this tent, and the tent was on fire. It was burning. She was laying on the floor with her right arm covering her face, deceased. She had a bullet wound, which was later said to be self inflicted, where she had allegedly shot herself in the mouth. The wound exited through the back of her head, and everyone said in the military, they said that she had taken her own life. However, her parents did not buy that story. And when they went digging, they discovered some of the most disgusting and vile details about what actually happened to LaVena. When this investigation continued, LaVena's family discovered that she had bruises all over her body. She had scratches that they assumed were defense wounds. She had a broken nose. She had loose teeth. And worst of all, LaVena had some sort of corrosive acid poured into her vagina. Her genitals had been mutilated. Now, what or why would a person that is taking their own life, why in the world would they pour bleach or acid or lye between their legs? This was such a shock to LaVena's family. Her father cried out in agony. Her mother was beside herself with emotion.
Take a listen to what LaVena's dad, Dr. John Johnson, had to say about her injuries.
I called my brother Joseph because Joseph has a degree in criminal science. He said, I'm looking at a dislocated shoulder and a broke neck. So somebody beat her up. He said, it gets worse, man. Somebody shoved something up in LaVena. This was a rape. The second autopsy showed part of her vaginal area was surgically removed. I started hyperventilating. I could barely breathe. You look at the autopsy, you look at the paperwork, they were both designed to substantiate a suicide.
They got barely any information about what had happened to LaVena. The details were so sketchy and so slim at the time that her dad immediately knew something was wrong. He was a veteran himself, and he knew that this was not the way that investigations should go, or that the news of your child being deceased should be delivered. So immediately, the family was up in arms. And the details just continued to get worse. But the worst part of all is that the family still now has not received any justice. Her case, her death is still currently ruled as a suicide.
Okay, first of all, that is so crazy. I have so many questions. I just want to start by saying thank God for parents, right? Thank God for her parents advocating for her and knowing that something wasn't right, because this easily could have just been brushed under the rug and we would have just thought that she did this to herself. So praise God there. I mean, my first thing is like, are there any suspects? Like, is there anyone they think might have been involved? Because those details are very graphic. No one does that to themselves.
Unfortunately, they never named a suspect. I went through and I read almost every single page of the military's report. I read statements and sworn testimony from several soldiers. And what's crazy is there were so many mixed accounts of what the truth could have been. They asked people specifically about LaVena's state of mind. They asked if she was depressed, if she had a relationship with someone, if she, they knew of her being suicidal. They specifically asked those questions to almost every soldier, but they were asking personal questions as if they wanted this to point to a suicide. They were asking, did she ever talk to you about taking her own life? Did she seem depressed over her breakup with her boyfriend? They asked someone that she seemed to allegedly have been involved in a relationship with, and this person gave his testimony. But one of her close friends that she had spent some time with, he said, we went out to get Burger King. She asked if I was afraid to meet God. And this person specifically said, are you thinking about taking your own life? And she said, no, stupid. So speaking to her family, saying she was excited about coming home and all those things, it just leads me to believe that this was a young girl living her life. She may have had some sad moments, but there's nothing that indicates that she was going to take her own life. And then the details.
That's so, oh my gosh, the details are, especially the part about the mutilation, like, and the acid found in her lady area. I mean, from your research, who do you think did it? Or who do you think might be a suspect, I should say?
Well, there are a couple things that I believe could be a possibility. Now, number one, I want to point out that she was found in a contractor's tent. That there was never an explanation as to why she was there in that tent. Number two, why was the tent on fire? It wasn't burned down, but there were charred pieces of paper. And when they took her personal effects out, there was a notebook that she was said to have written everything in, and there were pages missing. So this person that they are constantly asking about that she was involved with in the military, I think that it's a possibility. There is, the contractor's tent. That is a possibility. But one thing that I think is absolutely not a possibility is that she took her own life. Now, the acid, the corrosive fluid or whatever was in her genital areas, it was said, and multiple people have speculated, although it has not been proven, that was to cover up a sexual assault. They were attempting to get rid of any physical evidence. And I think that's absolutely what was done there. Because why would she do that to herself? Why would she do that to herself?
Yeah.
Her family also noted that the weapon that was alleged to have been used, for the high caliber the weapon was, the injuries to LaVena were not severe enough. When you use a high-powered weapon, you expect to have high-powered damage, and that just was not the case. Her father actually was the one who fought to have her body exhumed because they had buried her and everything. And he fought so hard to get some answers in this case. There's a documentary that has been produced, but people for all of these years have continued to bring this case up, to speculate on this case. And I just don't understand why there are no answers.
Yeah.
It will never be satisfactory to me because this girl did not do this to herself. But it's still ruled as a suicide.
Sounds like a lack of accountability as well. And I know we've heard these type of, like I mentioned in the beginning, when it comes to stories about violence, especially against women in the military, oftentimes it seems to be a rush to get to a conclusion. And there seems to be a lack of investigation. And to me, again, it's just giving, we don't want to be held accountable for this. It reminds me a lot of the story of Vanessa Gullien that happened at Fort Hood in 2020. You know that story?
Yes. I'm right up the road from Fort Hood. So yes, that is a story that looms over Texas.
Absolutely. And I feel like that story, if you guys don't know about that story, she was a 20-year-old woman. She was basically murdered by one of her fellow soldiers. And the reason why they say he murdered her was because she allegedly saw pictures of him with his girlfriend. But get this, the girlfriend was actually a fellow soldier's wife. And that would have broken a fraternization rule in the military. So he was afraid, this is all alleged because, and I'll tell you why, but he was afraid that she was going to tell. So they say that he murdered her. He used a hammer and he beat her to death, and then he hid her body. Her body was found a month later by a lake. And his accomplice was actually the woman, the girlfriend, and she was the one to come forward and give this alleged motive. The reason why we don't know what actually happened was because when they found her body, Vanessa's body, that is, this man, fellow soldier, the one who did it, killed himself as soon as police got close to arresting him and, holding him accountable for it. He killed himself. So we don't really know what happened. We just know this side of it because of what his accomplice said. Now, she was found guilty, and I believe she's serving about 30 years in prison right now for that. But I say this to say that Vanessa Guillien's story, similar to the story you told, her parents also were the ones who came forward like, no, something is wrong here. And they also say, and this is all alleged again, because we don't know exactly what happened, that there was also cases of sexual harassment from this alleged soldier as well, her fellow soldier, and also I believe another superior. So there was a lot going on there. And in the same way as your story, there was a lot of covering up, it seems like. And it started a whole movement online. I believe it was called like hashtag I am Vanessa, just to talk about violence against women in the military. And we need more accountability. It's really, really sad. It's sad that it takes someone to pass in such a gruesome way to get some type of justice. And it sounds like it's still happening today. We just may not know about every single case because of, as I said, a lot of covering up.
Yes, there's multiple articles online where women have been sexually assaulted in the military. And there is first of all, a rush to judgment. I was reading an article recently where this young woman talked about, and she was highly accomplished. She was a sergeant in the military. She was assaulted, and this person, I mean, they really brutalized her. They bound her, they gagged her, and she was not offered any counseling or anything. They even gave her a lie detector test to validate her story. But when she was found, she'd been left for dead. And somehow she made her way back to camp. She found someone to help her, and she was still tied. Her arms were still tied.
Oh.
How does a person tie themselves? She was still gagged. How does a person just do that to themselves? No accountability. They had to fight hard to get her to come back home, fight hard for her to get counseling. And she said that immediately when she told her story, she felt like the suspect in her own case. And there are so many other stories, even the cover ups as far as the young men and women losing their lives in the military. There are multiple other cases similar to Vanessa's where people have died and they have said it's self-inflicted, or they have said, this person who killed them or the person that's responsible for their death, it was quickly moved into a hush-hush situation. And justice continues to be a runaway ship when it comes down to this, because it's the military.
Yeah.
If the parents don't speak up in families and people who advocate for these soldiers, there will be no answers. There will be no accountability. And this is going to continue to happen because we all know this is one of the most protected entities in the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just want to say, like, by no means at all is this us bashing the military, right? Like, we definitely have a lot of respect. And like we started the show by saying, thank you for your service, because we understand the dedication and the way people are sacrificing their lives to ensure that we're safe. But we also said we are victim advocates, right? We are very big on ensuring that victims, even when they no longer are with us, have their voices heard. So that's not what this is. I don't want this to get twisted in any way. We have a lot of respect, but we have to speak up and make sure justice is served for those who can no longer speak for themselves.
Absolutely. And as a parent of a young woman, as a parent of a daughter who right now is just the same age as LaVena Johnson, there would be no way I would ever give up on fighting for my daughter's justice, for answers. And our family still to this day, even 20 years later, they continue the fight. They continue to seek answers. They continue to seek justice. As I said, I'm very grateful for my time in the military, grateful for all of my experiences. However, justice has to be demanded because we know that time just runs out and people often forget about these cases after so much time passes. And we have to demand accountability. This has to stop. And it's not just in the military. There's women and men every day who lose their lives, but these type of situations, because the military is almost impenetrable.
That word gets me all the time too.
Because I can't even say, I'm not even going to try again.
Cannot be penetrated. Let's say that. Cannot be penetrated.
Because the military cannot be penetrated, these stories are left to be told by the soldiers, by the staff members. And I encourage everyone to read the military's report on this. Read what was said. Look at the graphic details of what happened to LaVena and tell me if you think a young woman, 19 years old, with her whole entire life ahead of her, would have poured corrosive acid into her genital areas or broken her own nose, knocked her teeth loose, bruised her own arms. No. Check out the details and tell me if you would agree that she took her own life.
And we'll link we can probably link the report to our pages so you guys can take a look as well. Make sure you share your thoughts in the comments. Let us know what you guys think actually happened. And make sure you guys advocate. I mean, even though it's been 20 years, it's still very much an important story. And as Chris mentioned, the family is still looking for justice. And I'm pretty sure, again, although it's been 20 years, it's probably just yesterday for them. I couldn't imagine losing a loved one, let alone in that type of manner.
Yeah, every day. I heard one parent say when we were talking about their case, she said, it is like waking up every single day and having a funeral in my head for my child. The agony I felt for her when she said that was unreal. It was unreal.
Can imagine. Well, we have come to the end of our time, but this is not the last time you guys are going to hear from us. We will be coming at you, not exactly live, but we'll be sharing our wonderful podcast with you guys every Thursday. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, as well as Spotify, as well as YouTube. We'll link all of our channels below. But tell them what we're going to be talking about, Chris. It's going to be a lot of really good stuff.
Yes, so we will be covering everything from true crime, which is where we both started, to dating, relationships. We will be talking about trending topics, anything that's happening, and we'll be doing some deep dives on cases. We have so much planned for you guys, and we hope that you'll stick around to take this journey with us.
Absolutely. And make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend. We are here. We're excited. Our first episode, but there will be many, many more. And if there's anything you want us to talk about and to cover, whether that's a case or any of the other topics that Chris spoke about, feel free to let us know in the comments. We are open books and we love to talk. So we'll be happy to cover anything and just talk about it. Why not? Thank you guys so much again for tuning in. I'm Trish.
And I'm Chris.
And have an amazing rest of your week. We'll talk to you guys next Thursday.
See you Thursday.